That stuffed animal on your shelf, the one you've cuddled since childhood, represents a creature that would horrify you in real life. Tonight, we're going to discover what's really behind those innocent eyes. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture your childhood bedroom. The stuffed animals arranged carefully on your bed. The dolphin with its permanent smile. The penguin in its formal tuxedo. The koala with its sleepy expression. Now imagine if those animals could speak, if they could tell you what they really do when no one's watching, when the cameras stop rolling, when the nature documentaries end. We've been lied to about nature. Those Disney movies, those children's books, those aquarium shows with dolphins jumping through hoops. They've created a fantasy where cute equals innocent, where small means harmless, where adorable means safe. But nature doesn't care about our comfort. It doesn't care about our need for innocent bedtime stories. It exists without morality, without judgment, without the gentle filter we've placed over it. Tonight we're going to remove that filter, because the truth deserves to be told with the same soft voice you use to read bedtime stories. We'll discover why dolphins are the ocean's most intelligent predators, how penguins make human criminals look gentle by comparison, why koalas are nature's most beautiful mistakes, why otters aren't playful. They're violent, but we'll take this journey together, at a pace that lets you process each disturbing revelation, each uncomfortable truth, each moment when you realize that cute is just a mask nature wears to hide its true face. By the end, you'll understand exactly why that stuffed animal on your shelf represents something far more complex than innocence. Something that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the natural world. Are you ready to meet the real animals behind those adorable faces? Picture a child at an aquarium, 7 years old, pressed against the glass of the dolphin tank, eyes wide with wonder as these magnificent creatures glide through the water with impossible grace. The dolphin approaches the glass. Its face seems to light up with joy. That famous smile, those intelligent eyes. The child giggles, places a small hand against the glass. The dolphin mirrors the gesture, pressing its nose against the barrier, a moment of connection, pure, innocent, beautiful. But that smile is a lie. Not intentionally. The dolphin isn't trying to deceive. It's just anatomy, the shape of its skull, the curve of its jaw, a permanent expression that has nothing to do with emotion. Behind that smile is a mind, complex, intelligent, calculating, a mind that understands cause and effect, that plans, that remembers, that chooses, and sometimes it chooses violence. The dolphin pod moves through the water like a coordinated army. 6 males working together. They've spotted their target, a female, alone, vulnerable. They surround her, cut off her escape routes, force her to the surface where she can't dive deep enough to get away. What happens next isn't mating, it's assault, coordinated, systematic, and brutal. The males take turns, while others hold her in place. She struggles, fights, tries to escape, but 6 against 1 is impossible odds. The attack can last for hours, the female growing weaker, more desperate, the males showing no mercy, no compassion, no recognition of her suffering. This isn't mindless animal behavior. This is intelligence used for cruelty. This is choice. This is evil wearing the face of nature's most beloved creature. But it gets worse. The pods don't just attack females, they target babies, infant dolphins who pose no threat, who have done nothing wrong except exist. The male dolphins grab the babies, toss them in the air, play with them like living toys. The mothers watch helplessly as their offspring are tortured, brutalized, killed. Why? Not for food, not for territory, not for any reason that makes evolutionary sense. They do it because they can, because they're intelligent enough to understand suffering and powerful enough to cause it. The clicking sounds they make during these attacks aren't communication, they're coordination, battle commands, instructions for maximum efficiency in causing pain. You can hear the difference if you know what to listen for. The clicks become sharper, more rapid, more focused. The sound of predators organizing their cruelty. The water around them turns red, the metallic taste of blood mixing with salt, the weight of violence pressing down on everything in the vicinity. Other dolphins flee. Even members of their own species recognize the danger. The darkness that emerges when intelligence meets opportunity. But the most disturbing part isn't the violence itself, it's what happens after. The attacking dolphins return to normal behavior. They play, they hunt, they interact with humans at aquariums, they perform tricks for fish. The switch flips back, the psychopath becomes the performer, the predator becomes the beloved ocean ambassador. They've learned to compartmentalize, to separate their public face from their private actions, to be what humans expect during the day, and what they really are when no one's watching. There's a darkness in that intelligence, a coldness that comes from understanding consequences and choosing to ignore them, from recognizing suffering and deciding to cause more of it. The child at the aquarium glass doesn't know any of this. Can't see past the smile. Can't hear the clicking sounds that coordinate attacks. Can't taste the blood in the water. All they see is beauty, intelligence, connection. The dolphin their parents told them was friendly, helpful, almost human in its kindness. But dolphins aren't kind, they're just smart enough to know when to hide their true nature. The trainers at the aquarium know. They've seen the scars on rescued dolphins, the bite marks, the injuries that can only come from other dolphins. They know what happens in the wild, but they don't tell the children, they don't explain that the performing dolphin has likely participated in gang assaults, that its intelligence is as capable of cruelty as it is of learning tricks. The show must go on, the myth must be maintained, the comfortable lie must be preserved, because the truth is too disturbing, too complex, too threatening to our need for innocent nature. So we keep the fantasy alive, we keep believing in the smiling dolphin, the helpful dolphin, the dolphin that saves drowning swimmers and guides lost boats to safety. We ignore the other stories, the ones where dolphins attack humans, where they drag swimmers underwater, where they use their intelligence to harm instead of help. Because if we acknowledge the truth about dolphins, we'd have to acknowledge the truth about intelligence itself, that it's not inherently good, that it's not inherently moral, but just a tool, and tools can be used for creation or destruction. The dolphin in the tank presses its nose against the glass one more time. The child laughs with delight. The moment seems perfect, innocent, pure. But the dolphin's eyes, if you look closely, there's something else there. Something calculating, something that recognizes the child as small, vulnerable, defenseless, something that's deciding whether it's worth the effort to care. But dolphins learn their cruelty from watching something even worse. Something that waddles, wears a tuxedo. Something that makes dolphin violence look like child's play. We'll meet the true monsters of the animal kingdom next. The ones that made even Victorian scientists too disturbed to publish their findings. The ones that live in the coldest places on Earth. And have the coldest hearts to match. Now imagine you're watching a nature documentary. David Attenborough's voice, warm and comforting, describes a colony of Adelie penguins. They waddle, they slip on ice, they huddle together against the cold. Everyone in the room goes awe. The camera zooms in on one penguin, black and white, perfectly dressed, like a tiny gentleman in a tuxedo, heading to dinner. But what if I told you that penguin is heading to commit murder? What if I told you that penguin colonies aren't communities of survival? but crime scenes that stretch for miles. What if I told you that scientists in 1915 discovered behavior so disturbing in penguins they kept it secret for nearly a century? Let me tell you about the Adelie penguins of Antarctica and why those tuxedos might as well be prison uniforms. Dr. George Murray Levick was a British explorer. 1910, part of Captain Scott's expedition to the South Pole. He was supposed to study penguin behavior, document their mating rituals, their social structure. What he found nearly broke him. For 2 years, Levick watched Adelie penguins. He took notes, careful, scientific observations. But when he returned to England, he couldn't publish them. The behavior was too disturbing, too shocking for Victorian society. His notes were hidden, locked away, forgotten until 2012. That's when scientists finally found Levick's lost papers, hidden in a museum archive, written in Greek letters, because the content was too graphic for English. What had he seen? Let me tell you about a typical day in an Adelie penguin colony, but I'll tell you gently. Because once you know, you can't unknow. The sun rises over Antarctica. Thousands of penguins wake up. They stand in groups, shoulder to shoulder, seemingly peaceful. But listen closer, that's not cute chirping, that's screaming. Constant, desperate screaming. Because in penguin colonies, the dead don't rest in peace. Adult male penguins will find a dead female. Sometimes she's been dead for days, frozen solid, and they will mate with her for hours while she decomposes. Levick documented it happening again and again, males lining up, taking turns, fighting over corpses. Imagine the smell, rotting fish, penguin waste, death, all mixed together in the Antarctic wind. But necrophilia was just the beginning, because living females weren't safe either. Young penguins, chicks that couldn't defend themselves, adult males would pin them down, force themselves on them, sometimes killing them in the process. Levick watched it happen, day after day. He wrote in his notes these acts of depravity, but he couldn't finish the sentence. How do you describe watching baby penguins being raped to death by their own species? The colonies weren't communities, they were hunting grounds. Adult penguins would steal chicks, sometimes to eat them, sometimes just for the violence. Imagine being a baby penguin. You're born into this world. Your first experience is cold, hunger, and then something grabs you, drags you away from your parents, and you never see them again. The penguin huddles you see in documentaries. The reality is they're feeding frenzies. Penguins fighting to get to the center, stepping on each other, crushing the weak. Sometimes baby penguins get trampled, their own parents step on them. Leave them to die and keep waddling. The sound is what stays with you. Horrifying screams, the desperate calls of parents who've lost their chicks. The silence when the screaming stops. Dr. Levick tried to intervene. He'd see a chick being attacked. He'd chase away the aggressor. But there were thousands of penguins, and only one of him. He wrote, "I was powerless to stop it. The violence was everywhere, constant, relentless." But here's what's truly disturbing. This behavior, it's not madness, it's strategic. Male penguins who kill chicks, they're eliminating competition. Fewer chicks mean more resources for their own offspring. Penguins who mate with corpses, they're practicing, perfecting their technique for when living females are available. The violence has a purpose, it's calculated, intelligent. That's what makes it so terrifying, because when you watch a penguin colony, you're not watching cute animals playing in the snow, you're watching a society built on systematic violence, rape, murder, cannibalism, all dressed up in tuxedos. Emperor penguins are no better. They're baby snatchers, When their own chicks die, they'll steal someone else's. Fight for them. Kill for them. Imagine being a parent emperor penguin. You've incubated your egg for months, balanced it on your feet, starved yourself to keep it warm. Your chick hatches. You're exhausted, weak, but happy. Then another penguin approaches, bigger, stronger. They want your baby. They'll fight you for it, peck at you, push you around. And if you're too weak to resist, they'll take your chick, walk away, and you'll never see them again. The stolen chicks usually die. The kidnapper penguins don't know how to care for them. They just wanted to steal them, to fill the emptiness where their own chick used to be. So you have colonies full of grieving parents carrying around dead babies, refusing to let go. The Antarctic wind carries the sound of their mourning calls for miles. But here's what scientists discovered. The behavior gets worse when resources are scarce, when food is limited, when the colony is stressed. They become more violent, more desperate, more willing to hurt each other. It's like a city during a natural disaster. When civilization breaks down, the true nature comes out. And the true nature of penguins is brutality. The penguin colonies stretch for miles. Hundreds of thousands of birds, all engaged in the same cycle. Violence, theft, sexual assault, murder. From above they look like cities, organized, civilized, but up close, they're war zones. Dr. Levick wrote, "The scene was indescribable. I found myself weeping, not from the cold, but from what I had witnessed." He tried to document it scientifically, but how do you write a scientific paper about systematic rape and murder in animals that the world thinks are cute? So he didn't. He hid his notes, buried the truth, let the world keep believing in innocent penguins for 100 years. But the truth always comes out eventually. The behavior is still happening. Right now, in Antarctica, millions of penguins, living in colonies built on violence. And we dress our children in penguin pajamas. We buy them stuffed penguin toys. We take them to see Happy Feet and March of the Penguins. We tell them penguins are symbols of love, dedication, family values. But what if your child knew the truth? What if they knew their stuffed penguin represents a creature that would rape and murder its own babies? Would they still want to cuddle it at night? The next time you see a penguin documentary, listen carefully. Beneath the cheerful narration, beneath the orchestral music, there's another sound. Screaming, because in the real world, penguins aren't cute. They're not innocent. They're not symbols of love. They're killers in tuxedos, rapists in formal wear, murderers who look like they're dressed for a wedding, but they're not going to a wedding. They're going to a funeral, and they're the ones who killed the guest of honor. The colony continues, the violence continues, the screaming continues, and somewhere in the world a child hugs a stuffed penguin and goes to sleep, dreaming of Antarctic adventures, of sliding on ice, of cute waddles and fish dinners, never knowing that their beloved penguin is a monster. But now you know, you can't unknow it. Every time you see a penguin, you'll remember the colonies, the violence, the screaming. You'll remember that nature's most formal-looking creatures are actually its most depraved. And that's just the beginning, because penguins learned their cruelty from watching something even worse, something that makes penguin violence look almost reasonable, something that's too stupid to be truly evil, but somehow that makes it worse. We'll meet those creatures next, the ones that make you wonder, how did evolution get it so wrong? There's a video that went viral a few years ago. A koala sitting in a tree. Someone offers it eucalyptus leaves. Fresh ones, perfect ones. the exact food koalas are supposed to eat. The koala stares at the leaves, confused. It won't eat them, because the leaves aren't attached to a tree, and the koala's brain is too smooth to understand. Let me tell you about koalas and why they represent evolution's greatest failure. Picture a brain, any brain, a human brain, a dog brain, even a bird brain. They all have something in common: wrinkles, folds, creases. These are called sulci and gyri. They increase surface area. More surface area means more neurons. More neurons mean more intelligence. Now picture a koala brain. It's the size of a walnut. But unlike a walnut, it's completely smooth. No wrinkles, no folds, no creases. It looks like a pink marble. A marble trying to run a living creature. Koalas have the smallest brain-to-body ratio of any mammal. Their brains are so small, they don't even fill their skull. There's empty space, just empty space where intelligence should be. But it gets worse. That smooth brain, it can only process one type of information: eucalyptus leaves on trees in specific positions. If you take a eucalyptus leaf and put it on a plate in front of a koala, the koala will starve, because its brain cannot recognize that the leaf is food. The leaf has to be on a tree, at the right angle, moving in the right way, or the koala's brain simply doesn't see it. Scientists have tested this over and over. Koalas will starve to death surrounded by their favorite food if it's not presented exactly right. Imagine being that stupid. Imagine your brain being so limited you can't adapt to save your own life. But the eucalyptus dependency is just the beginning, because eucalyptus leaves are poisonous to every other animal on Earth. They're toxic, indigestible, nutritionally worthless. But koalas built their entire existence around them. Why? Because their ancestors were too stupid to find anything else, so they evolved to eat poison. Their digestive systems became specialized, adapted, committed to processing toxic leaves that barely provide enough energy to survive. It's like evolving to eat cardboard. Technically possible. But why would you? Koalas spend 20 hours a day sleeping because eucalyptus leaves provide so little energy. They can't afford to be awake. Their entire existence is sleep. Eat poison, sleep. Eat poison, sleep. They're living proof that evolution doesn't always improve things. Sometimes it just gives up. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. Baby koalas can't even eat eucalyptus leaves at first. Their stomachs aren't developed enough to process the toxins. So what do they eat? Their mother's feces, and it's called pap. Partially digested eucalyptus leaves mixed with gut bacteria pass through the mother's digestive system and then eaten by the baby. The baby koala's first meal is literally shit, feces, straight from the source, and they have to eat it for weeks until their stomachs develop enough to process poison directly. Imagine being a baby koala. You're born, you're hungry. Your mother looks at you with those beady little eyes, and she offers you her excrement, and you eat it because you're too stupid to know better. This is how koalas begin their lives, eating shit, so they can eventually graduate to eating poison. But even after they learn to eat eucalyptus, they're still hopeless. Koalas have no natural predators. Other animals see them as too stupid, not worth eating. A dingo looks at a koala and thinks, "This creature is too dumb to be prey." Even bacteria find koalas disappointing. 80% of koalas have chlamydia, the sexually transmitted disease. But they didn't get it from sex. They got it from being too stupid to maintain basic hygiene. Koalas are going blind. From chlamydia, they're losing their fur, their eyes are crusted shut, Their reproductive organs are failing, and they just sit there in their trees, eating poison, sleeping, spreading disease. They're like living petri dishes, bacterial breeding grounds with fur. But here's the most disturbing part. Humans are spending millions of dollars to save them. Koala hospitals, koala rehabilitation centers, koala breeding programs. We're desperately trying to preserve evolution's biggest mistake. Scientists work around the clock, treating koala chlamydia, feeding koalas by hand, teaching them to recognize food, literally teaching them how to eat. And the koalas stare at them with vacant eyes, too stupid to understand they're being saved. It's like trying to teach a rock to swim. But why? Because we think they're cute. Those fuzzy ears, those button noses, those sleepy expressions. We've decided that cuteness is more important than intelligence. We've decided that looking adorable is worth preserving, even if the creature is fundamentally broken. But what if I told you koalas aren't even that cute in person? They smell constantly, like eucalyptus oil mixed with urine. Their fur is oily, matted, full of parasites. They make horrible sounds, grunting, belching, screaming during mating season. And they're aggressive, surprisingly aggressive. They'll scratch you, bite you, piss on you, because they're too stupid to understand you're trying to help. A koala will attack a veterinarian who's treating its chlamydia. It will bite the hand that feeds it, literally. And then it will go back to its tree, sit there, eat poison, sleep, and slowly die from easily preventable diseases. This is what we're trying to save. A species that's too stupid to survive, too diseased to thrive, too broken to fix. But we keep trying because they look like teddy bears. We've built an entire conservation industry around preserving stupidity. Koala sanctuaries, koala research centers, koala awareness campaigns, all to save a creature that would go extinct if we stopped interfering. And maybe that's how it should be. Maybe evolution got it right. Maybe koalas are supposed to disappear. Maybe their stupidity is nature's way of saying, this experiment failed. But we won't let them go. We're too attached to the fantasy. The idea that all cute animals deserve to exist. Even if they're evolutionary dead ends, even if they're suffering, even if they're too stupid to appreciate being saved. So the koalas continue, eating shit, eating poison, sleeping, dying slowly from preventable diseases. And we continue trying to save them, throwing money at a problem that can't be solved. Because you can't cure stupidity, you can treat the symptoms, but the underlying condition remains. A smooth brain in a world that requires wrinkles. A marble, trying to think and failing, but at least koalas are too stupid to be truly evil. Their stupidity is innocent, harmless, pathetic. Our next animals, they're different. They have intelligence, they have awareness. They know exactly what they're doing. And what they're doing is worse than anything penguins ever imagined. They're the furry rapists, the aquatic predators, the creatures that make violence look playful. There's a video that broke the internet. 2 sea otters floating on their backs, holding hands, drifting together in the ocean waves. Millions of people shared it. Relationship goals, they said, so pure, so innocent, so romantic. But what if I told you those otters weren't being romantic? What if I told you they were planning their next assault? What if I told you that otters are the ocean's most prolific rapists? Let me tell you about a day in the life of a male sea otter. Because once you know what otters really do, you'll never see them the same way again. It starts with hunting for victims. Male sea otters will cruise the coastline looking for seals. Young seals, helpless seals. Seals that can't fight back. When they find one, the real nightmare begins. The otter will grab the seal, drag it underwater, pin it down, and then, for the next hour, sometimes longer, the otter will rape the seal. Over and over, while the seal drowns, suffocates, dies. The otter doesn't stop when the seal dies. It keeps going for hours, raping a corpse until it gets bored, or hungry, or distracted by another victim. Marine biologists have documented it happening constantly, all along the Pacific coast. Otters, those playful, hand-holding otters, are serial rapists, but seals aren't their only victims. Female otters, baby otters, even other males, nothing is off limits. When a male otter wants to mate, he doesn't court. He doesn't display. He doesn't wait for consent. He attacks. He'll grab a female otter, bite her nose, hard enough to leave scars, hard enough to cause permanent damage, and then he'll hold her underwater, force himself on her, while she struggles, while she fights, while she nearly drowns. The bite marks are permanent. Female otters carry the scars for life, proof of every assault they've survived. Look at any female otter. Really look at her face. Those marks around her nose. Those aren't cute freckles. Those are rape scars. Evidence of violence carved into her flesh. But here's what's truly disturbing. The otters know it's wrong. They show guilt, shame, awareness. After an assault, male otters will groom themselves obsessively, like they're trying to wash away evidence, like they're trying to clean their conscience. They know they've done something terrible, but they do it anyway, because they can, because there's no one to stop them. Now let me tell you about ducks, those peaceful pond dwellers, those bread-eating park favorites. 40% of all duck sex is rape, forced copulation against the female's will. But evolution has turned duck reproduction into an arms race. Males evolved corkscrew-shaped penises designed to force their way in, to overcome resistance, to ensure impregnation, whether the female wants it or not. Females evolved defensive vaginas, corkscrew-shaped, in the opposite direction, with false passages, dead ends, designed to prevent unwanted impregnation. And think about that. An entire species where the reproductive organs are literally designed for sexual warfare. Male ducks hunt in groups, gang rape. They'll corner a female, hold her down, take turns. While she struggles, fights, nearly drowns. The female tries to escape, but there are too many of them. And if she dies during the assault, they keep going because dead females can't fight back, can't escape. Necrophilia in ducks is common. Males will line up, waiting their turn, with a corpse. This is happening right now. In every pond, every lake, every river. Duck rape, duck murder, duck necrophilia. And we feed them bread. We bring our children to see them. We call them peaceful, beautiful, serene. But listen to the sounds, really listen. That's not peaceful quacking. River otters are no better. They're smaller than sea otters, but more vicious, more creative with their violence. They'll grab a victim, drag them to the riverbank, and then they'll torture them for hours. They'll bite, claw, drown, revive, drown again, like they're playing a game where the other player always loses. But here's what's disturbing. We've romanticized these creatures. We've turned them into symbols of playfulness, joy, innocence. Otter videos get millions of views. Children dress up as otters for Halloween. We use otters in advertising, marketing, children's books, and we're teaching our children to love the perpetrators. Your child has an otter stuffed animal. They sleep with it every night. They think otters are cute, friendly, fun. But you know the truth now. You know what otters really do, what they're really capable of. Do you tell your child? Do you shatter their innocence? Do you explain that their favorite animal is a rapist? Or do you let them keep the fantasy? Let them believe in innocent otters. Let them sleep peacefully with a predator in their arms. That's the choice we all make. Every day. With every cute animal video, every nature documentary, every children's book. We choose the fantasy. Because the truth is too disturbing. But the truth doesn't disappear. It's still there, in every pond, every river, every ocean. Otters are still raping. Ducks are still murdering. The violence continues while we pretend it's not happening. Call it cute. Teach our children to love the monsters, but maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what we should be doing. Maybe the fantasy is necessary. Maybe some truths are too heavy for children to carry, or maybe we're just cowards, too afraid to face reality, too comfortable with lies, too attached to the idea that nature is innocent. But nature isn't innocent. It never was. It's violent, brutal, unforgiving, and we're part of it. We're animals too, with our own capacity for violence, our own dark impulses, our own shameful desires. Maybe that's why we love cute animals so much. Maybe they remind us of who we used to be, when we were innocent, when we were pure, free to be monsters. And maybe that's the most disturbing truth of all. Now close your eyes. Picture yourself as a child, 6 years old, sitting in your bedroom, surrounded by stuffed animals. A dolphin, a penguin, a koala, an otter. Your protectors, your friends, your companions in the dark. You felt safe with them, secure, loved. But now you know the truth. You know what these creatures really are, what they really do. And you have to ask yourself, what does that make you? What does it say about humanity that we're drawn to monsters? What does it say about us that we find comfort in predators? What does it say about our nature that we sleep with killers? Tonight we've taken a journey through the dark side of cuteness, the hidden truth behind innocent faces, the reality that nature documentaries don't show. We've seen dolphins as ocean psychopaths, penguins as tuxedoed murderers, koalas as evolutionary failures, otters as furry rapists. But the real question isn't about them, it's about us. Why do we love them? Why do we protect them? Why do we find them comforting? Even now, even knowing what you know, part of you still finds them cute. Part of you still wants to pet them, hold them, keep them safe, because cuteness is a biological weapon, an evolutionary trap, designed to hijack our protective instincts. Big eyes, soft fur, round faces, small bodies. These are the features that trigger our parental response, our urge to nurture, to protect, to love. But these features have nothing to do with morality, nothing to do with innocence, nothing to do with goodness. They're just features, accidents of evolution, tricks of perception. The dolphin's smile is anatomical, not emotional. The penguin's tuxedo is camouflage, not fashion. The koala's sleepy expression is stupidity, not peace. But we project human emotions onto them, human motivations, human morality. Maybe we need to believe in innocent creatures, in pure love, in uncomplicated affection, because the real world is too complicated, too violent, too morally ambiguous. Human beings are capable of extraordinary cruelty. We rape, we murder, we torture, we destroy. But we're also capable of extraordinary kindness. We heal, we protect, we sacrifice, we create. We're complex, contradictory, capable of both good and evil, and maybe that's what makes us human. The animals we've discussed tonight, they're not evil, they're not good, they're just animals following their instincts, surviving, reproducing, dying. They don't have moral frameworks, they don't feel guilt, they don't question their actions, they just exist. But we do question, we do feel guilt, we do have moral frameworks, we know the difference between right and wrong. We can choose to be monsters, or we can choose to be heroes. And maybe That's why we love cute animals so much. They represent the part of us that doesn't have to choose, the part that can just be without the weight of moral decisions. They're free in a way we'll never be. Free from the burden of consciousness, free from the complexity of choice. They're our shadow selves, our dark mirrors, our reminder that beneath the surface, we're still animals. Still capable of violence, still driven by instinct, still wild. A child with a stuffed animal is practicing, learning to love, learning to nurture, learning to protect. But they're also learning to ignore, to overlook, to forgive. They're learning that love isn't about perfection, it's about acceptance. It's about choosing to care despite the flaws. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. The ability to love something, knowing it's imperfect, knowing it's dangerous, knowing it's capable of harm, but choosing to love it anyway. Because love isn't about innocence, it's about choice. It's about commitment, it's about hope. The hope that love can transform monsters into friends. The hope that something good can come from something flawed. Even if it's just an illusion, a fantasy. Even if it's just hope. It's late now, very late. The world is quiet, dark, still. You're sitting there, thinking about what you've learned, about dolphins and penguins and koalas and otters and ducks, about the darkness hiding behind cute faces, the violence lurking beneath innocent exteriors, and you're wondering, what does this mean? What do you do with this knowledge? Do you throw away your stuffed animals? Do you stop watching nature documentaries? Do you warn your children about the monsters in their toy box? Or do you embrace the complexity? Accept that the world is not simple, but also not hopeless, because you know something these animals don't know. You have something they don't have. Choice. And maybe that's what makes you human. Your ability to choose love over fear, hope over despair, light over darkness, even when the darkness is real. Even when the monsters are real. You can still choose that stuffed animal on your shelf, the one you've had since childhood, the one that's been with you through every fear, every nightmare, every moment of doubt. It's not lying to you, it's not deceiving you, it's not pretending to be something it's not. A reminder that even in a world full of monsters, you can still choose to find comfort. The real animal might be a killer, a rapist, a monster, but the stuffed animal is whatever you need it to be. A friend, a protector, a companion in the dark. So keep your stuffed animals, keep watching nature documentaries, keep taking your children to the zoo, but remember what you've learned tonight. Remember the darkness, remember the complexity. It's real, and real is always more interesting than perfect. Sleep well. Dream of dolphins and penguins and koalas and otters and ducks.